Hey, Autoimmune Warriors, welcome to the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast. I am so fired up for you to be here. If you're navigating life with an autoimmune condition, you're in the right place. I am your host, Des, and I am not just a podcaster. I am right here in the trenches with you as a fellow autoimmune warrior. We're diving into real, uplifting stories and some seriously smart expert tips and simple lifestyle tweaks that can make a difference in how we feel day to day. Now, I've got to give a huge shout out to my amazing listeners. You're the heartbeat of this podcast, and I'm so grateful for you tuning in. If you're loving the vibes, here is how you can keep the love flowing. Drop a rating on Spotify, share a quick review on Apple, or pass this episode along to a warrior buddy who can use a boost of hope. Here are some patients that are killing it for our community. Workers with Autoimmune Ailments Alliance. These folks are fighting the good fight for students and workers like us with autoimmune conditions. Want to get involved or learn more? Swing by WAAA.org. They'll love to have you. Leap Cure. They're all about hooking up patients with cutting-edge clinical trials and putting our voices front and center. Check them out at leapcure.com. Adapt Naturals by Chris Kresser. They offer nutrient-packed supplements based on science. Snag 20% off your first order with my code DEZ, D-E-Z, at Adapt Naturals. From my heart to yours, I'm sending you nothing but love and good vibes. Let's dive in together. My guest, it is Jane Marla Robbins. And after a 50-year career as an actress and a coach, Jane Marla Robbins faced a rare neuromuscular autoimmune condition called Myasthenia Gravis, which targets muscles used for essential functions like speaking and swallowing. Adjusting to a life of rest and disease management, Jane channeled her love for poetry into a creative outlet. Her poetry collection, Myasthenia Gravis, the musical, My Medical, Hysterical, Poetical, Comical 25-month, reflects her journey with wit and resilience. Jane is also the author of 5 other books, including Poems of the Laughing Buddha, and has performed at the Kennedy and Lincoln Centers. So thank you so much for joining me on the Autoimmune podcast.
I'm so happy to be here and to talk about this. I wish I didn't have to talk about this. I wish I was talking about a trip to Paris, but that has not been on my schedule since I was diagnosed 3.5 years ago.
I am so sorry, but you seem just radiant and full of energy and life. And I'm sure it didn't start off that way. So would you want to share how you discovered having this neuromuscular?
No, I want to talk about running on the beach with my dog. No, just kidding. Yes. I mean, it's an interesting challenge to know how much you want to talk about a disease without getting caught up in its morass, and how much you can turn what could be something horrible, which it was, into illumination or resilience. So yeah, suddenly I was seeing double. I didn't know what it was. And it wasn't about that I needed eyeglasses with prisms. It's that I had this rare autoimmune disease, which affects eye muscles, chewing muscles, and I love to eat. So this obviously had to be healed. And guess what? There's no cure. So I've been on a fabulous journey learning what the doctors don't know. It seems to be a snowflake disease, which can feel like a tsunami, because there are no 2 cases that are exactly alike. So the doctors, based on their history with their patients, really don't know what to give anybody. And it's hit and miss. It's like Russian roulette. But yes, I do see the humor in it. And why not? I do think it's a healing force. You and I were talking about that a second ago. And somehow it allows one to digest what otherwise might be shocking, difficult. And I've spoken to other people with disease. Notice everyone, including my poems in the book, that go from wild hope and hilarious stories to despair, back to hope, back to practical suggestions. It's been a real roller coaster.
Yeah.
But I used to like the roller coaster because I went with my daddy. So you just never know what image is going to cheer you up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so your acting career, how did it prepare you for this roller coaster?
That's a wonderful question because I just thought about that today. One of the questions I know my PR lady said, you should talk about the changes in your life since you have this disease. And the truth is, it's almost playing another character. But this is not one I wanted to play. Mozart's sister? Yes. Shakespeare's Ophelia? Yes. But this character that I am kicking and screaming is very unlike the Jane I used to be. Obviously, I have my energy back now. However, with this disease, you never know when suddenly it's like, well, maybe it's a commedia dell'arte comedy. It's like one of those funny little dolls smashes you on the head and you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And then I'm like, who is that? That's not Jane Marla Robbins. That's not Jane Marla Robbins who is starring on Broadway 8 performances a week without stopping. That's not the Jane Marla Robbins who wants to go to a restaurant because my doctors, apparently all people know to do for an autoimmune disease where a human body's immune system is actually attacking the body. They're like, gee, that's a really rebellious immune system. Let's knock it off. Let's make it really, really weak. On the other hand, you need your immune system if there's a virus or a bacteria. So the doctors don't want you going anywhere where in the air, there might be a bacteria or a virus. So my life is much curtailed. Obviously, I found things to do, like write a 200-page book about the bizarre adventures with this disease. But I thought it's almost like playing a character, but it's not really. It's not really. It's learning an entirely different set of belief systems, self-care, body awareness, and a curtailed life, which for me, because I'm very emotional, I have understood means grieving. I mean, I used to go to a restaurant and talk to strangers. I was outrageous. It was a wonderful life. My challenge is to have an equally wonderful, thrilling life. But the things that used to be thrilling to me are not accessible now.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to almost change that definition or that, like you said, that role. You have to find different thrilling things in a way.
And I know I should read my book again because it was written in a huge, exhausting, I don't even know where the words came from because people are laughing out loud at the book. Doctors are giving it to their patients, Desiree,
Oh,
which I
wow.
find extraordinary. That somehow daring to speak my truth and doing it in a hilarious way, which is one of my ways of communicating and always has been, somehow allows the readers, and it's any autoimmune disease, it's any disease where the doctors are like, gee, let's try this, so that one is living in a world of, gee, I don't know what's going to come next, which is it's like jump, the net will appear. Really? Because you don't know. I took 2 immune suppressants, and I think I was allergic to both of them. So you don't know what's going to happen. I gave a rousing performance of a lot of my book. Apparently, I can't really do that anymore. I mean, I had people, it was like a rock concert. I have never given a performance like that. And of course, I was exhausted, but I'm used to that. I give my all. That's been my MO for many, many years. And instead, apparently, what happened is my body, now dancing with this autoimmune disease, was like, excuse me, that was too much energy. We are exhausted and we're going to give you a flare-up, which is an awfully romantic noun for something that could have put me back in the hospital, which was 12 days not being able to chew, not being able to walk very well, not seeing single, seeing double. And when this flare-up happened, I suddenly saw windows balanced on a corner of their triangle, of their rectangle. So it's an adjustment. It's consciousness. I mean, we all know consciousness is so important and awareness of one's life and what's going on. Yeah, well, this is in spades. But
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, when I put it that way, it's a blessing. I mean, do I really want to be unconscious in my life and racing to publish 3 more books so my mother will love me and she's been dead for 10 years, for Pete's sake? So it's an interesting education of consciousness.
It's, I think in a way, I mean, many people don't see it this way, but I think in hindsight, in a way, because I have autoimmune disease also. I mean, that's why I started this. But
Yay, you.
in a way, it was a blessing because in a way, it kind of, you have to slow down with autoimmune disease. You have to become a different person. But obviously, there's still aspects of your past life that you still want to hold on to. So I'm wondering if you look back at your life before you got diagnosed, what do you think triggered this autoimmunity for you?
I tend to believe certain scientific studies that have noticed that people who got the COVID vaccines, it woke up an unconscious autoimmune condition. On the other hand, it could be by DNA. It could have been that, the universe just wanted me to slow down. I forgot to mention, which I think is important, what I have had to do in terms of, as you say, what do you miss about your old life? To be conscious of that also. And I have found it involves, for me, a 5-part emotional evaluation and release, which is first you grieve. No, I'm not doing Broadway anymore. I'm not going to. No, I probably won't be meeting strangers on a plane without fear. So there's grieving for the old life. There's fear because then who am I? Then what am I going to do? Can I do this new life? Then I forgot anger, didn't I? Ha 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 ha. Yeah, that's the first one. Where's my old life? And we're really not taught how to deal with anger, it seems to me, in our so-called civilized life. Bang, bang with a gun, and that's about it. And
Yeah. Or
instead,
punching.
yes, well, where's my tennis racket? Where's my old life? I want my old life. And I find for me, and it's not true for everyone, I understand that, if I don't express those feelings and feel them in my body, they will get caught in there and I will have a worse condition than I already do. And that was true before myasthenia gravis because I was not taught or allowed to have the feelings. So I'd walk around angry and I wouldn't know I was angry. And I once had an audition and I was so angry at the casting lady for not having brought me in for 2 years that I literally was holding my script and it was shaking so I couldn't read it. And that was a real wake up. So for me, anger, fear, grieving, and that's another one we're not taught because who wants to feel pain?
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it was a wonderful life. It was an interesting life. It was my life, not even to judge it. A lot of people would have found it exhausting. I'm not sure how conscious and happy I really was. So there's grieving. And then there's 2 more, which one of my doctors said, and you really must accept it. Go read Ram Dass. Sure. I mean, if I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I could end up in the hospital again, I'd be a jerk. So yes, to be honest, and perhaps for you too, it's a reminder quite often. Oh, I have this disease. I forgot. I better accept it. I have a new way of living. And then for me, there's another thing. And I want to give it a name like fighter instinct. It's like, no, I'm not going to drown. Oh, I have this disease. I'm going to say, yes, I have this disease and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to find every possible cure. I'm going to invent one. I'm going to see how I can live the fullest life I can with different circumstances and different challenges. So that's my five-point recipe for not enduring these diseases, but instead somehow thriving and becoming more ourselves, which I think, what is my favorite story? Someone mentioned when you get to the pearly gates and St. Peter, I don't know who's going to be there, but they're not going to say to me, why weren't you more like Mother Teresa? They're going to say, why weren't you more like Jane Marla Robbins? So sick or well, fighting or unhappy, that's my job. And it's a challenge because nobody else has that job. It's not like they can give me a recipe. Here's how you become Jane Marla Robbins. They don't know, of course. It's a search, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely have to search for yourself again. And that's if you even knew yourself in the first place. Kind of like you said, this anger. And I don't know. I feel that maybe people will be better off if we were taught how to deal with our emotions when we're younger. Like, they teach math and science and reading and all the English. Well, they should teach how to manage our emotions. I mean, it's okay to feel and learn how to feel and deal with it in a constructive way. So it's not bottled up and we don't take it on somebody else or hurt ourselves. It's dealt with in a good way.
I loved hearing you talk about it because what it reminded me of was a rainbow. And they don't teach it in the schools or anywhere. And there are all these amazing feelings. They're variegated and powerful, and they give birth very often to creativity and a richer life. And they don't teach it. They also, for me, they did not teach my body. It's one thing to know that the thigh bone is connected to the knee. It's another to say, oh, my thigh hurts. What could this mean? Is this a message? Oh, I have to own my body. And many of us were taught not to, just to be a little Barbie doll, which has no feelings, and everybody loves you because you're such a good little girl. Or that's my history. Everybody has a different one. I understand.
Yeah. The children should be quiet and just seen, not heard.
That's right. And the voice, imagine not being able to speak one's truth. I think that also brings sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're bottling up your real self. So finally you're imploding with what you could be sharing with the world. And for me now, I mean, Desiree, it's a miracle that doctors think this book is helping people. And
I'm so curious. I want to buy it and I want to read it.
You don't have it? We'll send it to you. Oh my God, yes. Myasthenia Gravis, the musical. It's outrageous. But it's serious at the same time, which seems to be what I do. And I guess the end of that paragraph was that now what gives me enormous, actually it always did, but more and more, perhaps as I get older, helping other people, which is what you're doing, which is what my book is doing. I get an email from someone and I just feel grateful. It's beyond humble, right? It also puts me on that path to say, well, I guess I meant to do this, surprise. And I still have a little cough because I got some kind of cold, and my primary physician, who does not know a lot about myasthenia gravis, gave me the wrong antibiotic.
Oh,
That's
no.
how rare and stupid this disease is, how cunning. But I have a relationship now with this disease. So I took the antibiotic, I got some symptoms, but I don't know, I managed to slow down. It's what you and I have been speaking of, which is an art form. And it was the opposite of what I had to learn all my life. Just do more, do more. I remember my mother, I was writing a children's book. Well, when will it be finished? She wanted to know. I said, maybe 3 weeks. Why not 2? In other words, can you go any faster? And for so much of our lives we miss our lives running. I'm not saying running isn't good, but that's a discipline of itself. But to run past one's life and not smell the roses or really see the people we're with or ourselves, which I think where it all begins, if we're lucky.
Yeah. And we've been talking about your diagnosis, and it really attacks your muscles. And with being an actress and using your voice so much, what did you feel like in that moment where you could not say anything? Now that you look back or think, what did you want to say, or what do you think is the thing that you should have said because you couldn't talk? All this time, even, I mean, it's your voice, that's what helps you act.
Well, guess what's in my 200-page book?
That's what it is.
My voice. And it's powerful. It surprised even me. Desiree. I mean, I don't, how I saw myself. Did I see myself as a helpless little girl? The helpless little girl grows up with the 50-year-old, with the 60-year-old, with the 70-year-old. But somehow, without thinking, I knew I had to have my voice. Why? Perhaps because for the first 25 years of my life, I was not allowed to have a voice. I was punished for speaking up. But somehow out of that history comes this unconscious. I mean, there I am in a hospital. I can barely walk. I can't chew anything. So the food they bring you looks like a cow turd, and it probably tastes like one. And still, I had my pen, and my voice found itself on these 200 pages. Actually, it was first the musical, an outline for an outrageous, crazy musical with doctors with rhinestone stethoscopes singing and tap dancing. And then I had a doctor who fired me. So I had to do all this research because I found I needed a second opinion. You don't need a second opinion. You need 400 opinions, and that will inform you that no one knows what to tell you. So it's, again, the adventure you and I have been talking about, which seems the primal one for any human. What we're searching for is our own truth. My doctor, should I be on prednisone? I've been on steroids for 3.5 years. Probably not the best choice, but I'm talking to you. I see you. I don't see three of you. You don't look like a Picasso drawing. And
oh my goodness.
And one of the doctors told me, what I told my MG is short for Myasthenia Gravis patients, is they'll go back to their water skiing. Well, I wrote a poem about that because that's what I do. Everyone does, when you say, when you feel like you've hit bottom, what do you do? Well, apparently I pick up a pen. Where does that come from? Did my ancestors write books on caves? Who knows? So I wrote a poem about that, and he loved the poem so much. And now I have another poem based on a psalm about my autoimmune disease. And doctors at Duke University are using it. There's apparently a program there marrying spirituality with medicine. I guess what I'm saying is there are so many roads to healing. I knew none of them, and I didn't need to. I just had to write another book or coach another client to go from fear to joy. So I had some practice at that. And I guess that's when we were talking about anger and then fear and then grief and then acceptance, joy. Joy has to be the last place to end up. The kind of primal joy I think we're all born with, that you see in a child laughing before anything has happened to it.
Yeah. Everything's new and glorious in the moment. Yeah. How did your writing your book, and you seem to write so much, how does humor and storytelling heal you?
I think it's a mystery. I really do. I used to be called the female Robin Williams when I was on it, when I'd had enough chocolate to be totally outrageous. And then he killed himself. We all know that. So that was no longer my role model because I'm choosing life here. The truth is, I believe humor is a divine mystery. There is actually, now that I think of it, myths about how the world was created, is that the god Thoth, whoever he was, I don't even know the tribe that believed he was the Almighty, he laughed and the world came into being. So what did this ancient civilization understand about the power of laughter? Well, now at UCLA, we have an entire research building doing research on the biochemical uses of laughter. Apparently, there's a chemical that's emitted when you laugh, which strengthens your immune system. Autoimmune disease, strengthen your immune system. And again, people don't know which autoimmune disease to speak to. I've been visualizing my rebel autoimmune disease. They're crazy. The general now has a motorcycle and is telling me to have hamburger and asparagus. It's a visualization. Not everybody can do visualizations. I thought, that's not on anyone's diet. I tried it and I felt so strong, Desiree.
Oh, wow.
My point is, we don't know where the healing is going to come from. Maybe I wake up one morning and I imagine this white healing bear kissing my neck where it hurts. And then I have no more pain. I think the world of healing, and listen to what our disease is called, autoimmune, implying that there's an immune system there to protect us, which is somehow off balance. But you and I have been talking about our civilization being off balance. So how big a surprise is it that, what is the figure you know, that 3 million people have autoimmune diseases, or is it more? It's got to be more than that.
Yeah, it's something like there's more people that have autoimmune than heart attacks, and like it's number one if you combine it all. I can't remember.
Right. The point is, it's a huge number.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, who obviously as a poet enjoys metaphor, I look at this notion of the human body attacking itself, and it's hard not to think how our earth is being attacked, whether it's the Ukraine or Gaza or the earth itself polluting itself. This idea of a beautiful earth somehow and beautiful human beings suddenly dying at their own hands. So I suppose it's a timely challenge to be speaking to this immune system that wants to attack instead of support, instead of love, instead of invent ways for us to feel stronger and more joyful or joyous. I don't know. They're both strong words. Such a wordsmith, I can't help it, right? Which would I rather be, joyful or joyous? Depends on the day, right?
Depends on the moment.
That's right.
And how long did it take for you to find the right doctor? Or because you said that you've been fired by doctors, and a lot of doctors don't understand what you have since it's a rare autoimmune disease. What did your journey look like from being in a hospital, not being able to see, and to where you're at now?
My own doctor was not allowed in the hospital.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think that's a metaphor. I think that explains the lack of human contact, which I think ultimately is what heals us. Yes, you have to have the right medicine, but with my disease, nobody knows what it is. A friend said, "Oh, I saw on television, Myasthenia Gravis is a new medicine." Yeah, I saw another ad. In other words, no one knows which is going to work for whom.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows why people's lives take the paths that they do. Because my doctor didn't want to work with me, I had to research. I found the head of neurology at UCLA. He's the guy who talked about water skiing. And that's what inspired me to write more poems. Who knows ultimately what was healing? Did the poems heal me? Because they're rich with life's mysteries. I think that's what poetry is, that you go into the unconscious, into the ocean of the unknown, and you look for answers. And that's what they're still doing for myasthenia gravis. It's what I'm still doing. I just made a phone call. There's a Dr. Gundry. I don't know if you researched him.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But somebody I met at my neighbor's house, which is as far as I'm allowed to go for a social engagement, she said, "Oh, yeah, 16 years ago, I was diagnosed. I had the symptoms. I went on his diet, very limited diet. I took his herbs, and I haven't had symptoms in 16 years. I needed to be closer to home. He's in a different city. I need somebody there rooting for me. And the doctor I have now, he doesn't have all the answers. I don't think he reads half my emails. But what I feel is that he wants me to get better."
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps me going. And most of my family is dead. So you look for family, right? You look for that support system that's going to say, "I'm rooting for you. Don't give up the fight." Because it is a fight. I don't want to be on steroids for the rest of my life. We know how awful they are. I don't have to put them down. You already know. And anybody watching this probably knows how awful they are. But we do what we must because we choose to live a vibrant, thrilling life, no matter how compromised it is. Because it's all how you see things. People are living in wheelchairs and they can be laughing and giving to the world and feel good about themselves. I don't think it gets much better than that.
That's
Feel
true.
joyful.
That's true. And you said that you really don't know what caused your autoimmune disease, but how, other than your social life, how has your life changed? Like what rituals or things that you do for yourself to help you feel better?
I know I mentioned some of them. I guess the hugest change is I have on my refrigerator a list of things that I should do for self-care. Never in my life. I just got up in the morning. I'm going to write a poem. I'm going to write a play. Another play of mine may be made now into a movie. And to be honest, I'm scared. They want me to collaborate with somebody to turn the play into a movie. And I'm like, what if my energy isn't there to work with this person?
Mm.
And so the challenge there is to say, I'm going to monitor my energy. I'm not going to go to a dinner party the day I have to work with this collaborator. I'm going to know in my head, maybe only 2 hours, that's my cutoff. And I don't know about you and your fatigue, but sometimes, I mean, you're amazing. We've been talking and there you are looking beautiful and glamorous, whatever. Sometimes my cutoff is 2 hours. And then I just, literally, it's like I might as well be falling down. I don't fall down, but it's like the Pulcinella, knock her out. It's time to rest. What's rest? I'm sorry, I don't have my book here. We're going to make sure we send you that book. I'm writing that down because if I don't write things down, and I'm ADD on top of it. But it's funny about the challenges. I know the challenge about ADD is that when you focus, I mean, that's why I've written 12 plays and 5 books, actually 6 books, I forget. So if it's 2 hours, I do notice that with certain people, 1 hour, and I'm exhausted because they're energy vampires, whatever you want to call them. So it's just, again, it's what we started talking about. What does consciousness mean? What does awareness mean of how I am? Because before, my MO was, you go till you drop. I'll be up 25 hours. Sure, easy.
Yeah.
So everything changes. Yes.
And I could totally see that. I mean, you've got this vibrant energy, and I can tell you love life. And so this must have been a huge shift and role. What ways have you found to celebrate your life now?
What a beautiful, beautiful question. The truth is, when you were talking, I was thinking, Desiree, it's different every day. I mean, how many cells have I lost since yesterday? It's a new body. Of course, what delighted me yesterday may not have the same impact today. But I have made, when I realized I was fighting with my immune system and trying to learn about it, after COVID locked up in my house, and then with myasthenia locked up in my house. And then some doctor says, oh, you need human contact or your immune system won't function. What? So again, it's balance. Can I get myself to the cafe where I can now drive? Thank you, God. So I have human contact because I'm living alone. I don't have a boyfriend. My friends have left Topanga. It's a fire hazard, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Again, what day do I go to the cafe and am nourished even by the barista who seems to love me? That's nourishing. That's medicine. And what was the question you said? What do you do to have a joyful life? Was that the question?
To celebrate your life.
Celebrate. I love that word. Any holiday I find, I would celebrate it. Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, because each is a ritual from ancient times. This time of the year, this winter, this dark time, ancient civilizations understood this is where we bring light, whether it's candles, whether it's Christmas ornaments. I have everything in my house, anything that will make me smile. And I've made lists because I needed to reintroduce. I think I was running so fast. I did not need to say, well, gee, I need to be celebrating life. I'm not happy. If you're running that fast and that busy writing or performing, or I produced half my plays. My first plays I ended up producing in New York because everyone thought I was crazy. that I would do such a thing. And then we got a 4-column rave in the New York Times.
Wow. That's a
So
big deal.
it was a big deal. I mean, I guess my point is we don't know what the path is. It's just a little one-woman play. I did play 45 characters. It was well constructed. It was moving people. The person who first said I could read it in his theater didn't get it. I hope he read the review. Anyway, but that's my point. Then with this ADD focus, I just did. I learned 45 accents. It was based on an 18th century journal of a woman who blah, blah, blah. It's not important. But the point is, now when it slowed down and I'm like, I'm sick. What do I do? What's going to wake up this errant, crazy, rebel immune system? And it's a list of pleasures, I find. The word pleasure, what does it mean? It's a moment to celebrate anything in life, whether it's playing with my crazy dog and I'm laughing, which again, we talk about. Sometimes you can't force the laughter. You have to go to the source, which is my dog. I have an amazing rose garden in the middle of December here in California. And some days just taking the clippers and marveling, that's another word, awe, right? Marveling at the fact that they're even alive and that I, a New York City girl, managed not to kill all these flowers. I don't know where the joy or the celebration comes, but I love that verb. I should be celebrating this rose bush. Yes, absolutely. And honoring it and worshiping it and dancing for joy that it exists. And I think that's what your word includes. Now, I was a dancer. Am I dancing? My muscles are so weak. Whose body is this anyway? Okay, I'm not going to do the can tomorrow. But I did, that was another play I wrote for myself. But still, there's a choice to know that somehow, even in this hand, the cells are dancing. There is an aliveness. What about celebrating that? What about knowing that the hand is moving and I can now, when I went to the hospital, I could not open my hand.
Oh, wow.
So
it is a
even
celebration.
I think that's the way to live. And I love that you brought that up because I think that's the cure. Because otherwise you're a jackass. What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? I'm complaining. Have a good time. But not for us. When we're conscious and celebrating. I'm celebrating this interview. I get to talk with an intelligent woman who actually understands a lot of what I'm going through. That alone is a rare experience worth celebrating.
Yeah.
So here's to us.
Yes. My electrolytes, I put it in a nice, pretty wine glass.
And I don't have to wash this one. Thinking all the time.
So I have an interesting question. You're a producer, you're a writer, you're an actress. What would you say the role, or how would you describe the role of your autoimmune?
Celebrant. I think any other noun diminishes our hope, our purpose, and who we really are. So thank you for bringing that verb to the table.
Awesome. Yes, for sure.
And to celebrate all of it. The fact that I could not open my hand, and like a starfish is one of the images in one of the poems. It's a miracle. It was a miracle that it closed. How did that happen? What is this mystery of the body? And as you were saying before, we're psychophysical, emotional, intellectual beings, one fraction of which is ever explored or educated in our education system. And yet it's a miracle to celebrate. That's why we celebrate Christmas. It's a miracle. She gave birth. She was a virgin, whatever. It's one miracle after another. Yes. The candles on the candelabra for Hanukkah. Oh my God, we had this much oil. It lasted for 8 days or however many. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Celebrate. Yes. And I think it was Einstein who said, but I'm going to get it wrong. Either you see life as a lot of miracles, or I don't know what he said. Who cares? Let's celebrate. He did enough. He doesn't have to help us now.
Oh, that's beautiful. Any advice or wisdom, people out there, they could be, listen to this and let's give advice, or if you don't mind, give advice to people that have an autoimmune disease. And then we'll flip the script because there's listeners on here that don't have autoimmune disease, but support people that have autoimmune disease. So what would you say to them?
First of all, God bless us all. And for the people who help, for the caretakers who have the courage and special compassion to embrace someone who's ill. So much of our civilization is scared of illness. It's terrifying because it kills compassion. And the next step of that, of course, is that those of us who have a disease, that we too somehow find the courage to embrace. I left that out of that list. How to embrace the disease. So what does that mean? How do you find things to love about the disease? Ideally, your best caretaker will find things to love in the body in front of them that they're helping to feel better, which is presumably, might as well be optimistic about it. And I think that's the truth. I think there are ways to feel better every single day, both for the people suffering from an autoimmune disease. It's not about crying, oh, I can't go to a restaurant. It's like, do you know someone who's healthy that could come to your house? Could you order a curry so you wouldn't have to go to a restaurant? Have you ever tried a cauliflower curry? What does it mean to have something new, to dare to say, my life is not over because I have a stupid ass disease, but what is new? What is a challenge? What can I celebrate? Where can I be joyful? What new adventure can I bring or invent? Like this book. I invented this book, Desiree. I cannot believe I invented this book. And I believe everybody has a book. It doesn't mean they have to pick up a pen and write a book. It's somehow they have a voice that's going to heal them. Whether they're talking to their motorcycle general of their autoimmune rebel army, whether it's they write a poem, whether it's they talk to their caretaker and they suddenly, like the caretaker, suddenly find a new depth of humanity in that other person. How thrilling is that? What better thing to celebrate?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm on a roll here. I don't want to exhaust everybody, but I guess there's an endless list of ways for us and me to wake up newborn, as it were. We wake up every day. There's some philosophy that says you wake up in the morning, it's a new life. Not just, oh, it's January 1st, but what thrilling thing can I invent today for myself so that I think my life is worth living? Maybe it's helping someone else. Maybe it's getting a kitten so that the miracle of life and youth, and the thing about a kitten would be, it can't walk very well. And do we say, oh, I don't want this animal, it's not perfect? What divine wisdom comes with saying, yes, that person can't walk very well either, but look at the rhythm they have found, and look at the smile that they have, and look at the courage they have. These are things to celebrate. And I must confess, I lose some of that wisdom. You go out, you're so used to seeing things and thinking the same way. But your question, your challenge is well spoken. How to find, and I love that I came up with that word, embrace. What would it mean for me to embrace my silly disease? The fact that my hand wouldn't open up, and that I couldn't feed myself, and that I couldn't chew. I, who have been the biggest, fattest eater, I used to weigh 180, give me 10 hot fudge sundaes. But to embrace the mysteries of it, the unexplained of our bodies, neuropathy. Surprise, guess what? You have pins and needles. Well, think about sewing. Make something beautiful. Make something beautiful and embrace it. Embrace the person next to you, whoever's taking care of you and yourself. For me, that's the biggest challenge. and the disease and anything. Embrace your wardrobe. What did I wear today? I don't know. It's like, oh, I'll wear this. I really like this jacket. Oh, it matches the wall. How to celebrate. I mean, priests wear costumes because they understand every moment is holy in the temple. But I say every moment can be holy, no matter where you are, in a hospital bed, at home, in a wheelchair, on an interview show.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I mean,
taking those moments.
we're all secret priestesses. We're all secret writers. Everybody, as you know, I'm sure you've spoken to, I really want to write a book because people want their voices heard. And again, celebrate and embrace whatever that voice is, that secret that you have that's going to help somebody else. And then imagine how wonderful you're going to feel. And I was not judging myself when I wrote that book. And I know in the book, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of humor. I skate through despair. It's part of this life and this disease. I don't know why I mentioned that because it's terrifying, but it's true. And then you keep going and you embrace the mystery of life, that there are so many colors. I know we mentioned a rainbow a little while ago.
Yeah.
Those are infinite colors, infinite colors. And I love that story. There's poor old Noah in a boat and everybody's dead where he left. They've been flooded out. And God says, I'm giving you this rainbow. It's my signature to say I'm not going to destroy the earth again. Mm. But imagine what a gift. Infinite light, infinite colors, infinite variety. And perhaps we go back to the beginning of my diagnosis, which was I couldn't see very well. So what is it to see infinite beauty? Again, those words, celebrate it, embrace it, and embrace whatever these diseases are, whatever these medicines are. If they don't work, that could be funny too. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's no roadmap. And I think that's one of the hardest things to accept, the unknown, and to somehow have faith that the unknown won't be so terrible, that that's part of the joke, it's part of the game, it's part of the life. And what about surrendering to life?
And it goes back to having that roadmap. I mean, I don't think anybody really has a roadmap. I always talk about this to some of my clients, and you try to create a roadmap because you have an idea of where you want to go. But when you're in school, when you're growing up, you go to elementary and then you go to middle school and then you go to high school. And then sometimes you're expected, okay, you got to go to college. And after college, you're supposed to get married. And after you get married, you're supposed to have kids. It's like your life is kind of given a roadmap, but then do you have to follow that? And then what happens after that,
These roadmaps are so mischievous because we write them that wonderful thing, you make plans and God's laughing. Sometimes it's useful. Like before our interview, I was like, let's see. I think there are questions she wants to ask, so I should review them. And maybe I'll watch TV because that'll balance my brain. And I'll have my honey with pepper because that'll keep my voice speaking for however long we speak. And then someone came and visited, and there was my roadmap. But I think it sometimes gives us a fake sense of control. And I don't know what control is. Maybe it's just faith that we're not in control and that it's going to be okay anyway.
And I want to be mindful of how you feel because I know how that is. Anything I haven't asked you that you feel you need to share?
I want to thank you for mentioning my vocal limitations because my voice is getting tired. How long have we spoken? It's almost an hour.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
But I think it's a good moment to honor you for honoring that. And to me, to honor myself to say, yes, I could push myself to talk for an hour and a half. I know how to do that. That was my MO. Maybe there's a new plan. Maybe there's compassion for the fact that this body really needs support, this neck, this voice. To take joy in that with you and to honor you and everyone who has these limitations, that to somehow stop as you did and I'm doing now, to say it's okay. No one's going to love me less. And if they do, they should not be in my life. How to celebrate the limitations. Can I celebrate that you and I have spoken for an hour for me to realize the joy of my situation and to be talking with a smart, intelligent woman? Too rare in my experience, but never mind. Let's not go there.
But thank you.
So, yeah, I'm glad I mentioned the honey with the black pepper. I mean, again, looking for every remedy. And I think that's part of it. I don't think I'm going to give up. There is part of me in my brain. It may be delusional. It may be insane. But I'm thinking, one day I'm not going to have any symptoms. I'm not going to be scared that I can't talk for 3 hours. But right now, I know there's a moment to stop. And what an adventure. It's a new life. Where's my camel?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I enjoyed this conversation.
I had the best time. And I don't know what it means to honor a voice, but that's been a theme of our conversation. You have a voice. You have a voice for this extraordinary interviewing show that you gift to the world. So I wish everybody to find their voice, whether it's determination to feel better. I think that's enough. That voice that says, I can do it. I will do it. I will feel better tomorrow. I will find, if not a cure, at least some moment of joy where I am celebrating my life, my disease, my miracle. Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you. Guess who I just connected with, warriors? Leap Cure. Leap what? Leap Cure. Leap Cure connects patients with clinical trials to make research more equitable and efficient. Listen to their latest clinical trial.
If you've been diagnosed with thyroid eye disease and are seeking potential new treatment options, you might be interested in the LIDS clinical trial. If you're 18 and over, have a diagnosis of Graves' disease or Hashimoto's, and are interested in potentially participating in research, you can fill out a short questionnaire at lpcur.com/TED. You'll be connected with someone on the team to determine whether it might be a good fit for you. Check your eligibility and learn more at lpcur.com/TED.